Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the minutes dated March 1st, 4th, and 18th, 2021. Any discussion? Any comments? If there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 And item D, I have a special recommendation. Just wanted to say congratulations to the Sparkman High School boys and girls bowling team who are state bowling champions. And that's a huge feat. I actually challenged them to a bowling match, and knowing full well that I'm going to actually lose.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm just impressed
You're on your
by
own.
these young people.
You're definitely on your own on that one.
But I'm just impressed by the young people, the coach, for the job that they've done representing Sparkman High School, but also representing our district as a whole. So I just wanted to say congratulations, and want to get an opportunity to bring you all up. Coach, if you want to come on up, and all of these are seniors, and they are all representing the boys and the girls team. And we actually have some certificates that we'd like to give them. But before we do that, Mr. Weiss is going to read you have the,
Yep.
okay. All right. He's going to read a resolution.
I'm going to pull this down so I can talk. All right. So this is a resolution. Whereas the Sparkman High School girls bowling team won a hard-fought victory over a tough Thompson team to win the state championship on January 29th, 2021. And whereas team members Jenna Weber, Angela Weber, Emily Lindsay, Natalie Alsop, Ashley Ketchner, Kiara Petty, Katie Alexander, and Daylin Talogo, and whereas this is the first girls bowling team in Madison County history to win 2 state championships, and whereas the bowling team has a history of success that warrants recognition, and now, therefore be it resolved that the superintendent and the Madison County Board of Education congratulate the Sparkman High School seniors bowling team and their coaches, acknowledge this achievement, and express due acclamation for their outstanding accomplishments. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution being presented to the team members, Coach Lisa Ivy, Assistant Coach Monica Davis, and Principal Chris Shaw, and the words to be said in perpetuity upon the minutes of the Madison County Board of Education, dated this 22nd day of April, 2021.
Mr. Shaw, you want to come up? We're going to go ahead and take some pictures of the bowling team. Board members, if you all want to.
Do you want me to read the one for the? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got to do
There's
board thing.
also-
Sorry, guys.
There's also, when I read that, I thought, okay, there's got to be a boys one.
Yeah,
here
there is a
someplace.
boys one too. There's one for the girls and there's one for the boys.
Don't go there. Steady. Whereas the Sparkman High School boys bowling team won a hard-fought victory over a tough Hoover team to win their first state championship on January 29th, 2021. And whereas team members are Dalton Talgo, DJ Robinson, Hayden Ashburn, CJ Richardson, Joey Collier, Alfonso Carrington II, and Cole Arsenal. And whereas this is the first boys bowling team in Madison County history to win a state championship. And whereas the bowling team has a history of success that warrants recognition. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the superintendent and the Madison County Board of Education congratulate the Sparkman High School Senators bowling team and their coaches, acknowledge this achievement, and express due acclamation for their outstanding accomplishments. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to the team members, Coach Lisa Ivy, Assistant Coach Monica Davis, and Principal Chris Shaw, and that the words be set in perpetuity upon the minutes of the Madison County Board of Education, dated this 22nd day of April, 2021.
Congratulations. So now I think we can take pictures.
Now you
correct?
can take
All right,
pictures.
let's do that. Let's do that. And I do have some certificates for each one of the team members that I'll go ahead and, I'm going to hand them to you, Coach, and then you can give those out to each one of them at the appropriate time.
What I want to do is put all of you right here in the middle in front of the board.
Are you standing up here or in front?
We'll stand
Okay, I'll
back
stand right
here,
here,
and
okay.
then they can stand like that.
I better move. Oh, hey.
Didn't see you back there. Well, I was just trying to get, not,
Can you be seen?
I can now, not so much when I was standing directly behind Mr. Richardson there.
There we go.
I think we need to go that way a little bit.
You're really off
Yeah.
center, I thought. We're going to shift this way a little bit, Tim, and then you can take it again, because we're a little off center. Well, now I'm directly behind
There we
Mr.
go.
Richardson there. There we go. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Can you see this?
Yes, he can see me.
We could swap, Alan.
I'm right in that middle part, right there.
I got right in between the two. There we go.
I think I managed to get right behind Mr. Shaw, so.
Uh-huh. Congratulations, y'all.
Congratulations.
I have a wicked spin. It just goes in the gutter every time. I have a wicked spin on the bowling ball. It just goes in the gutter every time. Thank you. Congratulations. We'll get these. I'll send these around and we'll get them signed here shortly. Okay. So I need a motion and a second to vote on the resolutions. Can I do both resolutions at the same time? Okay.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the resolutions for the Sparkman High School girls and boys bowling teams. Is there any further discussion? If there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So congratulations to Sparkman High School on their championship. We're catching up to the Hazel Green girls basketball team. We've got 2 in a row on the bowling team, so we're getting close.
There you go.
We're doing good there.
I think,
I don't know, have they?
thank you. Yes, they have.
But didn't they just say it was the first in Madison County history?
For the girls.
Oh,
Girls. Did it say for
It was
boys?
back to back.
We can look at that. All right.
All right. Informational items, Mr. Weiss.
Yes, I'm going to take this off, or at least take it down so I can talk. Thank you. So, several weeks ago, last 2 weeks ago when I wasn't in attendance at the board meeting, I elected to go down to the State Board of Education and present to them my concerns over a policy that they were adopting with regards to the free application for federal student aid. I have absolutely no concerns with FAFSA, as it is called. But what I did have concerns about was the idea of mandating this for every senior in high school, starting with the class of 2022. So Sherry, that would be your daughter, I think. Nathan, it would be your son, I think, would have to fill it out. And the concern that I have is they, in my opinion, when I was speaking to the state board, and that included Governor Ivey, Dr. Mackey, and the entire board except for one, she was telephonically, was that they are mandating something that should be legislative in nature. When you mandate somebody to give up personal, private, financial information, the FAFSA form, for those of us that have even come close to wanting to fill it out, or for those that have filled it out, it's very complicated, it's very confusing, and it is somewhat financially invasive. You are required to link it to your federal income tax, which is fine. Everybody has to do their federal income tax, so that's knowledge at Big Brother. But it also requires you to put additional information in there that's non-taxable information, such as child support, such as non-taxable or non-educational veterans benefits. It requires you to give the amount of money you have in your savings and checking account and how much is in your 401k. And those are things that some people may or may not want to divulge. And that's just some examples. There's plenty more of things that you're required to divulge on the FAFSA form. The funny thing about this policy is that it allows you to opt out of doing the FAFSA form. So if you don't want to fill out the FAFSA form, you don't have to fill out the FAFSA form. Well, what's the difference between what we're doing today, which you have the freedom to do it or not, versus this new policy? When I went back in and looked at the new policy, that there is, and this is something, Mr. Perkins, you're probably going to have to get with Dr. Mackey on, it doesn't really have a whole lot of administrative or punitive teeth to it. I mean, when a student elects to opt out of filling out the FAFSA form, that form pretty much stops at your desk. There's no mechanism to push it down to the State Board of Education or anything. So it makes one wonder why. Why are we putting out a mandate requiring this, and then why are we adding additional work to our counselors, to our administrators, and to our central office staff to track this information if it's going nowhere other than your desk? And then asking people to give up financial information that is sensitive or potentially sensitive. Again, it was expressed to me that it's part of Governor Ivey's initiative to create 500,000 jobs in the state of Alabama between now and 2025. I'm really not too sure how the FAFSA form is going to accomplish that. It was argued that some students are missing out on financial aid. Well, again, I don't know of any student, my son included, Angie, I know your daughter when she graduated, that if they're inclined to go to college, whether it's 2 or 4 year, it matters not, they're going to be bombarded with all kinds of financial aid stuff. I mean, it comes to you in waves in the mail. So why are we doing this? And it was kind of upsetting to me that we were mandating something that I think should have been legislative in nature. And I did discuss that. We discussed that during advocacy days this week in Montgomery with several legislators, to include three of them within our county, and then several others. And they did too have some concerns. So I just wanted to brief you on why I wasn't here that week and what I was doing down there. If you ever have the opportunity to go down to the state board and visit that, it's an excellent opportunity to go and see what they were doing. And certainly with advocacy days this week, Ms. Bates and I were down there visiting with our representatives and our senator, Senator Butler from Madison. Had some good conversations about some education initiatives that are going on. And I've got that data and you all can take a look at it at your leisure. Talked a little bit about the budget, and just had a really good day. So I would encourage you to get an opportunity to go down there for advocacy days in the future to do so. But I just wanted to bring it up. I talked with Cynthia a little bit about the policy. We're going to have to come up with a policy with regard to the FAFSA and how we're going to approach this. But I think, Mr. Perkins, it starts with you getting with Dr. Mackey and just finding out exactly what our left and right limits are going to be and what the expectation is for us.
And I've actually had conversation with Dr. Mackey several times, and we will be continuing to have those conversations.
It was something that I felt very, very passionate about. Again, when you tackle the FAFSA, it is a difficult form to fill out, and there may be some parents or some people that are not accessible to do it. I know you mentioned something, Angie, when we were down there at advocacy days.
The thing I mentioned was McKinney-Vento.
Yes.
We should have at least given those children who fall into that some sort of leeway, because they don't always have, McKinney-Vento is homeless, so they don't always have a guardian present or the ability to fill out those forms. They don't have a place to reside at the time. So I don't think it's fair to ask people to not be able to graduate who are in a situation who don't have the basics of food and shelter at the time. I think that's punitive in nature.
Exactly. And just, for a side note, if you study the student loan crisis, and I would call it a crisis in this country, we have $1.5 trillion in student loan debt outstanding in this country today. That's second only to the mortgage loan debt in this country. It's the combined total of all credit card and auto loan debt in this country, and it is they have a very high percentage of defaults. It's taking kids on average, in my research, up to 30 years to get rid of their student loan debt. And I think that we need to do everything in our power as a society and as parents and as leaders in education to, certainly if you need a student loan, you get a student loan, if that's what you want to do. But, encourage students to do other means to finance their way through college other than through student loans, because I think it's a terrible thing to allow our children to come out of college and immediately fall into a debt cycle. That's not helpful at all. And I look at my son, he has no debt. I mean, he got scholarships, and I did my best to help pay him through, and he worked to get himself through school. And he's got no debt other than a car, which he was forced to buy. But I think it's something that we need to look at as a country and as a society, what the student loan debt is doing for our children when they leave college. It's a very bad thing, and it has a potential to be a very serious financial burden on our nation. So.
I think when we do whatever we do, we need to make it very clear that you can opt out.
Absolutely.
Make that language predominant.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do we have any mechanism to know how many people do the FAFSA currently? Is there?
I think we've got about 70%.
Okay.
Filled out. And that may be a state average. I've seen that number kind of thrown out there in some of these studies.
So that's a state average?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I know I've seen that number associated with it, so.
Yeah. But we don't know what internally to the system.
I have it, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, then that's fine.
We get that information, but I'm pretty sure we're well over 50% in Madison County. We may be, it may be in our data that's 70 that's sticking my head.
I was just curious, is it really a non-issue in Madison County? Or if it's, something that really is designed for maybe districts that really have low FAFSA, participation?
I think the genesis of it was there are 4 states, or maybe Alabama is the 4th state.
Yes.
There are 3 others or 4 others that have done a similar deal. And based on the states, they have more kids filling out FAFSA, which maybe I'm assuming leads to more kids getting, federal support and aid or whatever, but, but
The argument that was made during the meeting was that the idea was if they know they're going to get money, then they're going to go to school. Well, not necessarily. I mean, if somebody's not inclined to go to college, then it doesn't matter how much money you toss at them. They're not going to go to college if that's, for whatever reason. And then, of course, you have those kids that are going to go military, those kids that go to trade school, whatever the case may be. But, I just felt like when you mandate somebody to fill out a document that requires them to divulge personal financial information outside of their federal income taxes, to me, that felt like it should have been legislative in nature, because now we have a policy that's going to increase the workload on our administrators, on our guidance counselors, and there's absolutely no funding. It's an unfunded mandate, again. And we get a lot of those.
And I know we don't want to harp on this for too long, but it also sends a mixed message when we've been trying so hard to promote the fact that college is not your only option when you graduate. And, we spoke on McKinney-Vento, but we haven't even talked about our students whose parents aren't English as a first language and the difficulty that will be for them. So I just look at
I
it.
just wanted to give you all a briefing on what went down while I was down there.
And if I can add, I would have said this at the end, but since we're talking about advocacy, I just wanted to let you know, for anybody in our community that wonders whether or not our legislators and senators are accessible, it was truly impressive how much time they took with us. There wasn't anyone that we contacted that did not respond and didn't take time to meet with us, and that is every legislator and senator, and some that just touch this county around the perimeter and some that actively represent us. But I wanted you guys to know that when we were down there for Advocacy Day, they were very, not just welcoming, but also engaging. It truly felt as if our voice was heard while we were there, so.
Some interesting pieces of legislation that they're working on
Yes.
for education. So if it passes, it could be some game changers in how we do business in education, particularly in the state of Alabama. So
And PE.
yeah, yeah, and PE, physical education. Anyway, thank you all very much for giving me the time to talk about that.
Administrative items, item A. So before I make a recommendation for item A, I did want to just kind of reiterate and just kind of go over it again with the board, and just to kind of touch on this item. Some time ago, we talked extensively about supplement.
Go ahead.
Do you have something you want to?
No, go ahead.
Supplement that that we we were looking at for employees and things of that nature. And we were tasked to go back and take a look and see if it is possible to make sure that it is something that we can do as a district. And my team and I, we got together and looked at multiple options and looked at ways in which we felt like would be something that can be done. I just want to, yes.
Let's go ahead and get motion and second on this, and then we can have the discussion, because I know that everybody's going to probably want to tag off of what you might be talking about. So let's go ahead and get it in recommendation.
Okay, we can do that.
Do the motion and all that.
We can do that. We can do that. I recommend approval of the one-time $500 COVID-19 supplemental salary schedule adjustment as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the one-time $500 COVID-19 supplemental salary schedule adjustment. Any discussion? There you go.
All right, great. Okay. And so with that, we came up with a plan and looked at a plan and looked at some options that we feel like is solid. Of course, you know, COVID has presented a challenge to everyone. I don't think there's not a person in our community, in our schools, that haven't been touched by COVID. And I believe that our community, our schools have risen to the challenges that it's faced. We do not, these challenges are not over. There are additional items and additional things that our personnel within our district will actually be faced with in order to do. And the additional work that they do or will be doing to end out and to close out the school year is significant. This is items and things that we've never had to do before, they've never had to do before, that presents a challenge as they move forward. This document or this proposal covers multiple areas of focus in terms of work that needs to be done. And if you notice, I have it bulleted. This is items for the end of the school year, extra work that will be needed to successfully complete the school year that hasn't been required in previous years. And this is additional above what normally would be done in a normal regular school year. If you look at the bullets, system and school level planning, scheduling, budgeting, evaluating, implementing of learning plans for summer learning for students grade K through 12. I think this alone touches every department and every group of people in our district in terms of planning. There's not a group that is untouched by just this one task that our folks will have to do. The next bullet, system and school collection, documentation, sanitizing of Chromebooks. We've put out multiple Chromebooks throughout the year. Thousands of Chromebooks will be collected, cataloged, sanitized, reissued for some, for in the summer. There's multiple items that will be done there. System and school collection of documentation and sanitation of MiFis. So not only do schools collect these devices, but the district itself, computer services, will collect and recatalog and resubmit these. Our finance department will reconcile the usage and the financial pieces. And these are just things that our folks will have to do in order to close out school. Reconciliation of grades for both traditional and virtual. That's a huge task when you start looking at individuals who have had to work through both virtual as well as traditional. And even those who were just virtual, that's still another level of reconciliation of assignments and things of that nature that they have to do. And then the additional connection with families. Evaluation, determination, communication of students' needs for summer learning. This is something that our folks will, as we move towards our summer learning programs, all of our faculty and staff will actually be part of making sure this is done. Evaluation and verification, communications of the students' needs of mental health, that touches our student services, that touches all of our counselors, that touches all of our social workers. It even touches aides in our classroom, instructional aides in our classrooms. Breaking down classrooms, modifying office spaces because of COVID-19, and the preparation of schools for summer learning. Continuation of sanitation of computers, desks, desk shields, other supports, teacher spaces, system-level planning that has to take place, scheduling, evaluating, and implementing of mental health plans for students due to COVID-19, continued sanitation of computer desks from the system level, as well as shields and office equipment, the review, completion, and the documentation of COVID quarantine isolation options and guidelines, which takes in consideration a lot of what our nurses will have to do, a lot of our paraprofessionals will engage in and have to do these, and all of these things are above and beyond what they would normally have to do in a regular school year. And at the end of the school year, it's even greater. It's exacerbated at a higher level. And then overall sanitation of facilities, equipment, cafeterias, buses, office, lobbies, spaces, storage. So there's a large number of things that our people in our district, our faculty and our staff will be engaged in at the close of the school year that will impact, that's things that they haven't had to do before, and it's above and beyond what they've had to do. And the thing is, up to this point, they've worked at high levels, and will continue to do so. And I think that the offer of a one-time supplement for our employees would be something that will be very beneficial for them. The estimated cost to cover this one-time salary supplement is $1.4 million. We have the ability to cover that amount. If you look on the second page under the recommendation, it just covers the individuals who will receive board-approved employees, who is in active and regular status, full-time or full-time equivalent as of April 23rd, and who is currently scheduled to work and perform additional COVID-19 related duties on or after April the 23rd, and through the remainder of the contracted work school year. So this is kind of just a brief overview of the documentation, just to kind of give you an idea and a rundown of what this will be for, and how we've organized for this one-time supplement for our faculty and staff members.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to that?
I would like to know, in terms of if it does include the budget amendment. The bottom of the part of your recommendation, but note that it does include a budget amendment.
Yes.
For the estimated amount to cover.
Yes, thank you.
We don't have to vote on that separately. When we vote on this as part of this, okay. All right. Karen, I know you've looked at this in depth, and you don't see any issues or concerns from a budgetary perspective.
And it will be included in our final budget amendment before we approve it.
Okay. And then that goes out in September?
No, sir, June.
June, okay.
The
Okay.
final budget amendment for this fiscal year
Right,
is June.
June,
Our next year's budget is September.
gotcha. Well, I appreciate Mr. Perkins. Oh, go ahead, Nathan, just go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I appreciate Mr. Perkins and his team not letting this die. I think it's something that the board wanted to do. We just wanted to make sure the legal parameters, financial parameters were covered. And I'm thankful. I think the will was there to do it. I think our teachers and our staff will appreciate it. It's just a token of appreciation for the work they're already doing and they're going to do. I wish we could do more, but that being said, I do appreciate Superintendent, his team, putting this together and getting us something that we could vote on. So thank you, teachers, I appreciate you guys. Staff, I truly appreciate you all, and thanks, thank you.
Did anybody else have anything? Sure.
Well, I appreciate the people that was able to work it out. It didn't look good at first, but I appreciate y'all, like Mr. Curry said, not letting it die. So appreciate everybody that helped out with it.
Yeah, I think, when we talked about this late last year, early this year, I think the guidance that we as a board asked you to come up with was to come up with a plan that fit both the legal guidelines within the legal confines as well as financial. I think that was the biggest concerns of the board, making sure that we were, not putting the system in any kind of legal position negatively or financially hurting the board in any way. So I appreciate that. And I would like to say one thing too, is, and we truly do appreciate each and every one of our teachers, our administrators, our staffs, our support staffs, and everything. And I think they've done a tremendous job this year, working through some very unusual circumstances, and hopefully we will be able to push past this year and start the new year off with a bang. Moving forward in August, July and August, and that we can start the school year off right. But I also want to just acknowledge the hard work and dedication that many of our parents have had to do, at home. Those that chose to have their children be taught remotely, those that had to endure a sudden quarantine of their child or a sudden closure of a school. That kind of throws everybody into a tizzy, and their work schedules. And I appreciate the fact that they stayed on top of it, that they worked hard, that they didn't let their child fall behind, and they deserve credit as well. So I appreciate them doing all the things that they've done for their child during the school year. But this is a solid plan. I think it's well worked out. And it certainly falls within the guidance that the board had provided to you, Mr. Perkins, so thank you.
I may have drifted off, but did you go over the timeline?
Timeline, no, let's see. So basically, if it's approved tonight, we'll start, from approval, and employees would actually receive this $500 supplement the middle of June. Ms. O'Bannon, you kind of want to just kind of touch on that?
After the completion of the work at the end of the school year, be on the mid-month payroll in June.
And they would, and separate checks, yeah.
All right. Any further discussion or comment? Okay. Then I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? I didn't hear anybody. Okay, good.
Administrative item B, I recommend approval of the March financials and payments of bills as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the March 2021 financial statements and payment of bills. Any discussion or questions for Karen on this? If there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Item C, I recommend approval of bids and bid renewals as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of bids and bid renewals. Any discussion? If there are no questions, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Item D, I recommend approval of the 3 SRO memorandums of understanding contracts between the Madison County Sheriff's Office and the Madison County School System as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a recommendation for the approval of the 3 SRO memorandums of understanding contracts between the Madison County Sheriff's Office and the Madison County School System. Any questions or discussions?
I kept reading different things. So can you just kind of highlight what's different from this year?
Yes, ma'am. For this particular, this next coming year, which will start in July, we are splitting the cost of a part-time school resource officer, who's a retired police officer who will be serving as a school resource officer stationed at Hazel Green Elementary School, and will also support Hazel Green High School and cover Walker Road. So that's one addition. The other addition that we have was a little last-minute addition, in which the sheriff's office added a little piece in that about the cell phone use, that falls under the Madison County Commission sheriff, or their policy for cell phone use, and that's the addition. Those are the,
Okay.
everything else is the same, except for dates.
I have a question about how do we get more of them?
Well, we're currently paying for 10 full-time officers out of Madison County funds, and we are paying for 1.5 part-time officers. We will have 18 total next year, so basically, at this point, my first opinion, we're about tapped out what we can provide. That would be asking the commission and the sheriff's office to fund additional resource officers for our schools.
Well, I think what's important to note here is 4 years ago, we had 6, and we now have 18, so,
We have made tremendous strides.
True.
We have
Yeah.
such a great partnership with our sheriff's office. Sergeant Locke is the supervisor for that group and has done a fabulous job. It has been an outstanding partnership.
I appreciate what we have. What I'm saying is,
You want some more?
I would, yeah, I want more. I'm just being honest, I want more.
I'd love to have one in Evansville.
I would too, but I spoke with a principal the other day, Tuesday, and I asked to meet his SRO, and he didn't have one. So I mean, that's he was one of the schools that was shared, and they're 7, 8, 9 miles away. And I understand all that. It's just, and I appreciate the sheriff's department, but I want to know what we can do to get. I mean, I'd rather have one and not need them than, you know. So what can we do?
Well, this is something we've been, over the years, we've been working towards continuing to add, to our district as we had the funding. And as of today, we are better than we were, previous. And so we're continuing to look at moving in the direction of adding SROs to all of our schools. And we're hoping that we can get to that point.
I think to answer Brian's question is, we need an increase in our local revenue stream. I mean, that's really it's gonna take to increase our SROs, and not just SROs, but much more that we could do. I mean, whether that's through a property tax referendum, or whether that's through an increase of the sales tax at the county level. That's what it's gonna take to give us the funding to get more SROs and other things that we need.
Well, and the revenue's going up just by virtue of all the people.
Well, that's true,
too.
yeah.
So as we budget next year, I think, we can fit it in.
Go to 6 to now, it's 11, it will be 11 and a half if you look at the equivalents of the officers that we have. And then with the sheriff partnering with us, it's just amazing what we've been able to do. And the only way we've been able to do that is because our local revenues are growing. We don't have a new revenue stream, but with that growth, we're able to do it. We wouldn't have those that we have today if it hadn't been for that the last 3 years. We just couldn't add more prior to the last 2 years. So not living through what we've lived through, we feel like we're in a great place. And if our revenues continue to grow as we prioritize our budget next year, Dr. Miskey, is constantly working with the Perkins with the Sheriff's Department as to where we might be able to add, what deputies or even officers are even available and trained and ready to go. But we're continuously looking at that.
Did you say the commission could help out with that too?
That's the biggest problem right now. If you told me that you could fund me 10 more officers, I could, we have to be very careful before we take control. And there's a way to do that, and to transfer those positions through the commission. You say you're gonna fund this meeting, we just have to have those added on the backside. There's a way to do it.
I know y'all have a shortage of deputies.
And that's what we're working for. Sheriff Turner's, one of his biggest goals since he come in is to add those additional school resource officers. That's what we're working for. He's added 7 since he took office 2 years ago. So we're gonna keep working towards that. I think that's in discussion that I, as a supervisor, I want to continue to have. My goal is to have one in every school and then some high schools too. I just think that's a good overall picture and
Well, I'm on your goal with you, so I'll help you however I can.
And our partnership has been great with the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Turner, I mean, he's done, a fantastic job. And, Cody's been great, to work with and constantly working on and constantly looking at ways in which we can, keep that momentum going. And I am appreciative of that.
I don't want y'all taking it that I don't appreciate it. I do. I want more. I'm just gonna let you know I want more. So. Okay. I'll help you however I can, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Brian. Any additional comment? If there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Item E, I recommend approval of the Phase 3 solution to the Schneider agreement as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you say for the Phase 3 or the Amendment 2? I've got down it as Amendment 2.
No, it should be Phase 3, right, Ms. O'Bannon? Is that what that is for that? I thought that's what,
Yes.
yes, it's Phase 3.
Is Amendment 2 Phase 3?
Okay, Amendment 2 and
To the energy services contract, but it's phase 3 of the project, correct?
Perhaps Todd could, Mr. Smith could explain it real quick.
Yeah,
Yes.
let me go ahead and get, I just want to make sure that we were going to, I was getting a recommendation and we were going to vote on the correct thing. So I recommend approval of Amendment 2, which is Phase 3, to the Schneider Energy Service Contract Agreement as submitted. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Yeah.
Did I get it? Okay.
Motion, Nathan, second.
Okay. Do you have any, would you like to go ahead and just kind of recap here?
Thank you guys for having us again. Officially been coming to Madison County School for 10 years now, so this is a decade in the making. But what's really neat about our partnership over the last several years is you all have turned to us with, again, some critical solutions that were put together. So this is for the Riverton Intermediate roofing situation there. You guys have been having, quite a few, there we go. Quite a few roofing issues there, and so this is a really neat solution that is going to provide you another 20 years out of that roof. It's got a 20-year warranty on this. It's going to solve many of those issues. It's also going to improve the aesthetics of the building. It's going to be a nice, new, clean color, and then we're going to have the covered walkways, which are going to match, and we're going to be doing some work around the clock tower to make sure all that's sealed in, because there's just been a lot of issues with water infiltration there. And then additionally to this, there's going to be a new freezer and cooler at the cafeteria there. And that is near and dear to our heart because we just spent the last couple of weeks bringing lunch to all of your C&P workers, just as part of our sponsorship with Madison County Schools. So we were actually able to see, all of the lunchrooms. And so we're excited about the new freezer and cooler there. And then in addition to the roof, we're also going to provide all new gutters and downspouts. And so you're going to have a whole, new water irrigation system from the roof down. So we feel very confident in our solution. Mr. Kazort over here has put in a ton of time with our team and our engineering staff. So this is Phase 3, kind of as a first bit of what we were asked to tackle. And then we have the remaining projects that we talked about earlier that are in design, and we'll have those later this summer for you. So any questions that you have for me?
I just want to say thank you. Randy Hill, a long time ago, when he first took Riverton Intermediate, explained to me the importance of gutters. Who knew? But
Right.
apparently they mean a lot. And so it's been close to 8 years since we've been trying. So I really appreciate what we're doing. It's going to save a lot of maintenance and keep things from deteriorating that don't need to. So I appreciate it.
Well, and it's really neat that the state is experiencing some funding that's allowing school districts to invest in their capital plants. That's a big deal. When we originally worked with y'all, Riverton Roof was on our list of things that we would like to accomplish. So And now, several
10
years
years
later,
ago.
we're going to be doing it, and it's going to be a really great solution. It's something that you're going to really be proud of as a school system.
Although the water sports that we can do on the gym floor will now be gone, which is a little disappointing.
Those will be an alternative from now on.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Item F, I recommend approval of the contracts for services as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of contracts for services as submitted. Any discussion or any questions? Karen is here and she can. If there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 I recommend approval of the following personnel items and addendum 1 and addendum 2 as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the following personnel items and addendum 2 as submitted, since we all got an addendum 2 here. Did everybody get an addendum 2? Okay.
Is that, make sure I got the right one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's addendum 2.
Yes, that's the one I have.
Any discussion? Any questions for Ken? He just popped up on the screen. Hey, Ken.
Good evening, sir, and board members.
I got a question. If somebody wanted to change their date of resignation, how difficult is that once we approve it?
Did you hear that, Ken?
Was the question, how difficult is it to change your resignation date?
After we approve it tonight?
As far as making it later, that's a problem. As far as if they want to move it up, that's not a problem at all.
I think,
Because once you've accepted
I
the
know what
date,
you're
that is the official resignation date. If they want to move it up, that's the easy fix. But switching it back, you basically, they've already said they're leaving on X date, and they're going to continue working for a little longer. So yes, it actually would require us to reinforce them to extend that resignation date. But to move it up is not a problem.
I know you're getting that, Sherry.
I think,
Ms. O'Bannon, could you go over the contract date? We just talked about the COVID date being June the 1st. Can you explain that? We had a conversation about that
Thank you,
earlier.
Mr. Solly. I didn't realize this was turned off. That June 1st date is the schedule for the retirement system, state retirement system. So any retirements, it doesn't coincide, not necessarily with our employees' last day of our contract. I think the last date, Mr. Cubic, correct me if I'm wrong, is Friday, May 28th. But the June 1st, that is our state retirement system cutoff date for all retirements up to that point. That has nothing to do with our employees' contract date, if that's what you're referring to.
which date are we going by for the supplement?
The supplement is all active employees through the end of their contract date. The June 1st date is in there because that is the RSA's scheduled date for all retirements. The state retirement system is April 1, May 1, June 1. So our retirements that come into them where their retirement picks up June 1, that's the RSA date. But our supplement is for all active employees through the end of their contract, whether it's May, that Friday, May 28th, or that Tuesday, the last working day for teachers, June the 1st, the day after Memorial Day.
If somebody was on here with a date of May 31st,
May
Or May
31st is
28th,
Memorial
I think.
Day.
or May 28th, sorry.
Yes, they will receive the supplement.
Okay.
It's through the end of their contract, if they fulfill their contract.
Okay,
So May 28th, June 1st, but June 1st is the RSA date
okay.
for all retirements, or the first of the month. And I realize that was confusing, and that's on me. that's what we put in there based on the state retirement date.
Ms. Rucker, it may be easier to understand it this way, is that the employee does not retire from the Madison County school system. They resign from the Madison County school system. They retire from the state of Alabama. And so when you're talking about retirement date, it's the effective date for the retirement, which is RSA's date, which is June 1, which means that they would fulfill their contract to be eligible to retire on June 1.
That was good, Sherry. I saw that and I went, oop.
I mean, you don't want to
Yeah,
arbitrarily just do that.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Item H, I recommend approval of the probationary principal contract as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the principal contract as submitted. Any questions? I don't think so. If there's none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 I would like to take an opportunity to congratulate and welcome our newest principal, Yolanda Wright, who will be the principal at Walnut Grove School. So just congratulations, Ms. Wright. I'm pretty certain she's probably listening, but I just wanted to make sure I congratulate her and welcome her. All right. Item I. I recommend that the attached employees be suspended for 4 workdays without pay for violations of protocol for administering state standardized testing.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation that the attached employees be suspended for 4 workdays without pay for violations of the protocol for administering state standardized testing. Really no discussion on this, so all those, unless there's anything you need to add. Say again?
Did you say there is discussion?
No, I said there, since there won't be any
Okay, I was about to
discussion.
say, I don't think
Is
we
there
did
anything
that.
you needed to add to it? All right. If there's no other, if there's nothing else, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Item J, I recommend approval of the supplemental contracts and the discontinued contracts as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of supplemental contracts and discontinued contracts as submitted. Any questions? I think Ken's still on. Where does it say that they're discontinued? Or does it?
It should be a discontinuation, make it on the second page.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It says on the top, it said discontinued. My bad. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Did you have a question, Sherry? I thought I heard you right at the last minute.
I said aye.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I was like, hold on.
All right. That concludes our administrative items for this evening. We do have an executive session for some student disciplinary action. You brought a certification, Ms. Thompson, for the executive session? You didn't, not for the expulsion, okay. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to say before we get a motion to adjourn into executive session? All right, then I will hear a motion and a second to get into executive session. We will be coming back in here to vote on the student discipline, and then we will also be voting to adjourn. You're welcome to stay. I don't know how long that's going to take, but you're welcome to stay if you like. So if I'll have a motion and a second, please.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're going to re-adjourn in, did you want to do it in here, Ellen?
Yes.
We're going to re-adjourn in here at 7:45. 6:45. Sorry, my glasses. I need new glasses. 6:45. 6:45, so.